Wednesday already again. So thank you all for joining me this week for tips and tricks. This is part two of a this is part two of a series. So last week we talked all about beginner, intermediate, and advanced Syms and the use cases for them, when we use them, why we use them. So this week, got a treat for you. I have Prachi Javani here. She is an expert sim maker in SimTrain, and she is going to walk us through her process of making these different types of Sims for all of the, we'll talk about all of the different types of Sims and how you do it. But it is a great way to really give that level of learning to your users, because obviously a beginner Sim, teaching them the structure, then giving them that next step is really important, because if I get, it's just like with anything we learn how to do. If you do it and you say, okay, I'm good, and then you go on to the next step and you're like, oh, no, I'm not quite ready yet, you can go back to the beginner. So that's the same thing here. And then of course our advanced is a test, and it's the closest thing they'll get to the real thing. So that's a really important one too. But without further ado, I want to introduce Prachi Javani. I'm just going to let her introduce herself and what she does, and how long she's been creating Sims in SimTrain, and we'll just get started. Please, if you have any questions, use the chat, or just raise your hand and we'll call on you, and we'll get going. So, Prachi, welcome.
Thank you for the introduction, Jamie. Good afternoon, everyone. I am really glad you all could join this session. As Jamie already mentioned, I have been working with SimTrain specifically on the sim creation side of the part, and I've been working on this profile for more than a year now. I have been creating Sims on everyday basis. We work on the tits and bits of the Sims. I work with a specific team. We have a dedicated team for sim creation. Uh, I have been dedicated to make engaging simulations and making impactful simulations for your business. We have been creating sims for the outcomes that your business wants, the areas of opportunities that you especially want for your business to be improved. And we have been designing engaging simulations for the outcome, for the results that you actually want.
So Prachi is all ready to kind of show her screen and kind of jump right into it. So like we said before, I'm just going to let her kind of explain what she has, and she's just going to create some of these Sims. Obviously, she's not going to create the whole thing, but definitely giving you the idea of her process so that you will be able to see and kind of understand why she does what she does in the most efficient way possible.
Thank you.
Any questions? Any questions before we get started? Okay. Take it away, Prachi.
Thank you, Jimmy. Let me quickly share my screen, and once it is up, please let me know.
Okay. It is up.
It is up. Great. So we have a sample of visual sim, which I'll be showcasing on how do we actually create it. This is a beginner version of the sim. This is how the script actually looks like when you upload a specific script into SimTrain. There are many different ways that we can upload the script, or we can work with the scripting part. Let's talk about the visual part now. When you come to the visual of a specific simulation, this is how the visual part of the sim looks like. You have all the screens that you actually want for your sim. And let me show you how we go ahead and add the hotspots and the scripts in the sim that you actually look at the outcome as a final result for your sims. Let's say this is a screen in your system. This is a CRM screen that you have. First of all, what we do is we add the script related to this particular screen. In this scenario, we have these lines associated to the particular screen that we are looking at. I'll add all the required lines. And now we want the agent to actually first select the issue type before proceeding to any other questions that the customer is answering. For that, we'll first click on add hotspot. We'll simply add the hotspot in the desired area that you want it to be. And we'll select the required hotspot that we want to add. In this case, it will be a drop down. Name the hotspot whichever you want it to be. And then you will be adding the possible options or the possible values that you have. It is not limited to any options. You can add as many options as you want, and then you have to select the correct option that you want the answer to be. Once you have added that, now let's say I want this drop down to be visible right after the agent says, can you provide me that? What I'll do is I'll simply go on hotspot sequence. I'll drag this hotspot to anywhere that I want, and I'll place it right over. By this, I have dragged and added the hotspot. Again, if I want to add a coaching tip for the agent to know what is the correct option that they are supposed to select. Again, we'll go on add hotspot. We'll select the coaching tip. And we'll add the desired tip that we want to keep it over here.
They're really just taking it step by step and really telling them exactly what they need to do and how they need to do it. That's the tone for that beginner sim, and that's where it all starts. Good. You're on mute, Prachi.
Sorry, apologies. We have added the required things that we wanted on that specific screen. And whatever the hotspots are that you want to add. Now, let's say we want to highlight this number for the agent to look at. We'll simply again add the highlight hotspot, give it a desired time, and you are good to go.
Prachi, do you ever find when it comes to the period of time that you select for the highlight is 2 seconds?
2 seconds good?
Yes, we usually selected 2 seconds because the reason we usually selected 2 seconds is because if we select it more than that, it will stay on the screen for a longer period of time, and it sometimes it gets uneasy for the agent to actually concentrate on other important things rather than the highlights. So if it is something that is very important for the agent and they have to read the entire paragraph or anything, we usually go for buttons rather than going to the screen. Because once the agent has read all the information, they can click on that particular information and then proceed to the next step of the simulation. And we'll go ahead and publish this specific sim. By this, we completed the beginner version of the sim. Now, let's say for the same sim, you have to create the intermediate version of the sim and then the advanced version of the sims. How we actually do that is very simple. You simply check the sim that you want to proceed with. For us, this is the sim that we'll be working on creating the intermediate and advanced version. If you go to the extreme right side of the screen, right here, you have an option to clone the sim. Once I clone the sim, it creates a copy of that specific sim for me. Once I have it here, I'll again go on edit mode. And first, I like to change the name of the sim so there's no confusion in the sims that I'm making. Now, let's say this is an intermediate sim that I'm working. I changed the name. Now, here comes the interesting part of the sim. While we create intermediate sims, there are usually many ways by which we give the coaching to the agents or we give the tips to the agent as to what they are supposed to speak. The very first thing by which we give them is actually putting it in directly in the customer side. How we actually do that is we simply add another line. And we'll keep it in the desired place. This is one way. When the agent will actually run this sim, first they will listen to the tip that they are supposed to say. And over here on the blue side that you see on the screen will be shown as a bubble on the screen rather than the complete script, which we usually see in the beginner of the sim. But when you come to the intermediate version of the sim, the agent will just see the tip and they will understand what they are supposed to say. One thing that we always make sure is whenever we are making the tips of any simulation, we always try to inculcate the keywords that we have, the important words that the agent is surely supposed to say on the board. Sometimes it's the branding of the call, sometimes it's the verification part of the call. This is one of the way by which we can add the instructional lines to the sim and create the intermediate version. If you are going with this particular part, all you have to do is add all the required tips in the desired places. Again, you will have to go on edits and details, and the advanced option that you see over here, you will just have to switch this off. And you will click on save changes, and it will show the, once you preview the sim in test mode, then you'll be able to see the boxes, the bubbles, rather than the entire script line. The other way by which we actually go ahead and add the instructional lines to the sim is something that we refer to as visual tips. Again, we'll go in this, we'll add a hotspot, and we'll add a coaching. Once you are done adding tip to all the desired lines, you can go ahead and add the lines to the desired screens that you had the lines associated for in the beginner version. And again, you can publish the sentence. As easy as that from creating beginner version to the intermediate version. Now, the final step for us is actually creating the advanced version of the sim. That too, trust me when I say this, that is the simplest thing that you can create when it comes to creating the advanced version of the sim. All you have to do is again follow the same process. First, you have to clone the sim or copy the sim, whatever you want to call it as. Once you have the sim cloned, you will again go on edit mode, change the name. The very first thing is changing the name so that there's no confusion. And we will just name it as advanced. This is one thing. And you see this option as advanced. We go over here and we switch off these two green buttons. View script in test mode and view hotspot in test mode. What it will do is that all the script lines that you see at the agent end will not be visible for the agent. That's first thing. And the other thing, when we switch off this view hotspot in test mode, is that all the hotspots that you just saw me adding in the beginner sim, that was the drop downs or the highlights or the buttons, all these things will not be highlighted for the agents, yet they are supposed to perform that actions. by using their previous education that they had. Okay, this is something over here where I have to click. This is something that I have to type in and all that stuff. Any questions, any concerns that we have until here? Now, there's one other thing that we can actually inculcate in the advanced sim is that if you want this particular sim to be the most advanced version for your agents, what you can do is you can simply remove the coaching tips that you have. Over here, I added the coaching tip for the agent to actually understand what they are supposed to select from the issue type drop. If I want my agent to be well educated on, like, I know they are well versed until now that what they are supposed to select, I'll simply go and delete all the required coaching tips that I had. Now, once I have once I've deleted the coaching tips, once I've switched off the highlights, the coaching tips, the view script and test mode buttons, I'll simply go and publish the sim. This creates all the three versions for me for a visual sim: a beginner sim, an intermediate sim, and an advanced sim. Any questions, concerns? Great. I guess then we are good to proceed with the audio simulations.
There's one question.
One question.
Yes, please. Shall I proceed with the audio simulations?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Now, when it comes to an audio simulations, it is, as it sounds, it is much easier than that of a visual simulation because it does not have that visual part. Now we have a demo of an audio simulations. The script that we already used in the visual sim, we'll be using that same script over here as well. All you have to do is you'll have to create a sim and then upload a script to it. For example, now this is a situation where the agent is actually helping the customer in regards to the duplicate payment, and the agent completes the verification and everything. Let's say you want your agent to actually help the agent and verify the information as well. But in this case, you want your agent to be well versed with all the cases. If the verification cannot be completed by XYZ information, or the information for the order cannot be found with the help of the order ID or anything else, you want your agent to be well versed with different type of scenarios in a single sim. How you can do that actually is you simply will go and click on this add branch button, and it will create a new branch for you where your agent will be randomly given a situation to take the simulation on, and then they will be working on that specific simulation, answering the concerns that the customer has in that specific simulation. This creates branch 1 for me. Now I will simply go and upload the script that I have for branch number 2 or scenario number 2 in this case. Based on your internet speed, it takes a little time or no time at all for the transcript to get uploaded. Now you created a branched sim out of an audio simulation. And once you publish this sim, this will create an audio as well as a branched sim for you. Again, let's say you want your agent to understand how an intermediate sim should look like for an audio simulation. Again, what you have to do is the same process. First, you will have to clone the sim that you want to work on. Go ahead and edit the sim. I'll be switching on the view script and test mode option for this as well. And now, the interesting part in an audio simulation is that you don't have to add any additional line while creating the intermediate sim. The option that you can opt for is whenever you click on that on this blue bubble on the agent side, you will see this option as a coaching tip, which we usually refer it to as light bulb coaching tip because it symbolizes light bulb. So it gets easy for us to recognize which tip are we referring to. You just have to simply click on this light bulb option. You enter your coaching tip, whatever you want to give the tip to the agent. If you want it to be shown first, you will click on show first. If you want the audio to be enabled, you'll click on enable audio, select the required coaching voice, and save the tip. It's as simple as that. Similarly, you will do the same for all the required lines that you have in an intermediate sim for branch 1. And this will make an intermediate sim for me just for branch 1. Similarly, same process is something that you can follow in branch 2 as well. You can add the coaching tips in branch 2 using the same process. You will click on the agent bubble, click on the coaching tip, and add the required line that you have. And you will proceed and save the sim or publish the sim. Last but not the least thing is that we have to create an advanced version of the sim for audio. The same process again is supposed to be followed. We clone the sim. Edit sim details, change the name as required. And simply mark it as advanced. And again, on the advanced option, we'll just switch off the test mode option. And this is how your advanced sim will look like. You don't have to add anything else apart from what I did when it comes to an advanced sim. When you will run the sim in a test mode, you will see the difference between a beginner sim, an intermediate sim, and an advanced. Any questions for all the sims that we made just now?
Okay. All right, hopefully I don't have that echo anymore with it. Thank you, Prachi. That was great. Does anyone have any questions? I know we had a question earlier. Please feel free to speak up and unmute yourself if you can and let us know any questions you have. Okay. So I'll let you kind of think on that. I had one thing I wanted to share with you just as a kind of an ending part of what Prachi did, showing you how easy it is to create. You already have that beginner sim. So making these levels is just, it's simple. It's a great step. Then you can put it in a module and there you go. You've got your levels of learning and the learner has it's like a tailor-made training for them because everyone kind of gets things at a different pace. But just to kind of put this all together, I was just going to show you, I put together just again, what this would look like in there since we don't have time to run the actual sim. So an audio and visual sim, this is a beginner. It will have all the coaching tips. It will have exactly how you want them to structure that that communication. So telling them exactly what to do, exactly how to say what it is that they're learning. Intermediate is a coaching tip. You have the coaching tip there in the visual. You have just a coaching tip as the script line. Utilizing some of those keywords in your coaching tip ensures they learn the structure of the conversation. And then this is an advanced. This is what they'll see. No coaching tips, no script, nothing. For a navigational only sim, same thing. You're going to give them the you're going to be able to give them the right here. So you're going to give them the exact direction on what you need them to do in the navigational sim with the highlights and or coaching tips and the highlights. And then again, intermediate, no coaching tip, just kind of telling them where to what to do in the simulation. And then again, nothing in the advanced. So again, making the different types of sims in these 3 levels is simple once you've made that beginner sim. And then audio, here's the beginner telling them exactly what to say. Here's the coaching tip. And then here's the advanced. So that's what it will look like. So any other questions before we end here? And Anne's going to put up her survey, and if you wouldn't mind giving us your feedback. But any other questions that you have? Please feel free to ask. All right, hopefully you found this useful, and actually seeing someone do the actual action of making the sims and the best practices with those. It's a great way to get a lot out of one single sim, no matter what type of sim you're creating. I want to take a few minutes and say thank you so much to Prachi for joining me. She is an expert at this. And, if you think of questions that you may have, then please feel free to ask, even if it's beyond this meeting. So Heather, thanks for sharing the navigational example. Okay, yes, I saw your questions from last time. And so I wanted to make sure that everyone, the navigational sim was your question. So I specifically did that because you asked. But next week we have an exciting session. We have a new feature in SimTrain, visual chat sims. I don't know if you guys have ever had the opportunity to go in there and do the audio chat sims that we've had for some time, but now we have the ability to add visuals to that. So I'm going to have our product managers, Athira and Knuckle, on with me to walk you through this new feature. So thank you again, Prachi, for showing all of us how easy it is to make beginner, intermediate, and advanced sims. I truly appreciate it, and I'm sure everyone really enjoyed seeing your expertise with it.
Pleasure's all mine, Jim. Thank you.
Wonderful. Have a good evening. Good afternoon, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you,
everyone. Enjoy your
Prachi.
day. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Jamie.
Thank you both.
Prachi.
Bye.